The fourth season of Netflix's Stranger Things was an instant hit as soon as it premiered, and fans are left wanting more after the end of the first volume. In today's episode, we'll be going over everything that we've seen so far in the latest fourth season, and we'll try to answer some of the biggest questions from the show, such as just who is Peter Ballard? So grab onto your seats as it's about to get spooky in here. First up, a red herring. Stranger Things star Jamie Campbell Bower has set the record straight on the mysterious character Peter Ballard, admitting that he was part of a red herring. Ahead of the series' return to Netflix last month, Jamie was credited as the unknown Peter Ballard, a caring man who works as an orderly at a psychiatric hospital. Now, after the actor's real identity was finally confirmed as one, later Vecna, Campbell Bower has told Entertainment Weekly that he has no idea where Peter Ballard came from. Jamie was credited as Peter Ballard, friendly orderly, and one before finally becoming Vecna, the creepy demo creature who uses his psychic powers to possess and kill the teenagers of Hawkins, opening up about the challenges of taking on the character who is also, quite frankly, terrifying. Campbell Bower explained that it's all him under the prosthetics. Next, Vecna unmasked. It wasn't until the very end of Volume 1 of Season 4 that Vecna's full backstory and identity came together. Eleven was finally able to recover her memory of sending her power-mad predecessor One through a gate to the Upside Down, where he transformed into Vecna. And before that, One confessed to Eleven that before he became Dr. Brenner's first protege, he was Victor Creel's son, Henry. It quickly became clear that Vecna had a strong connection to the Creel house, as the Hawkins gang was able to figure out he resides in the upside-down version of the creepy mansion. In the end, it makes total sense for Henry Creel to set up his base of operations in the upside-down version of his former home, and it should have been a big clue that Vecna was someone who once lived in that house. Bower's name also appears in the cast credits of every single episode, where he's billed only as friendly orderly. That definitely should have aroused some suspicion that this character was much more important than he may have initially appeared. In D&D lore, Vecna was born a human but transformed himself into an undead sorcerer lich through dark magic. In fact, Vecna is particularly notable for being the first human to ever successfully become a lich. All of this pointed to the Stranger Things version of Vecna being the first upside-down monster to ever be revealed to be a former human. And now, hidden in plain sight, Vecna begins his rampage on Hawkins' vulnerable teens with Chrissy the cheerleader, before moving on to school reporter Fred. By the time he reaches Max, the kids of the supernatural town begin to connect the dots about his victims. In particular, they notice how all of them have been speaking to school counselor Ms. Kelly about the headaches and frightening visions they'd been having. In episode 3, Max and her friends sneak into her office to scour her notes to find out all they can about the connection to Vecna. Their big takeaways are that the victims have been experiencing similar symptoms, and Vecna seems to be preying on those with traumatic pasts. However, a major new theory suggests there may be another connection between Ms. Kelly and Vecna that the kids have yet to spot. This has to do with the ominous grandfather clock that appears in Vecna's visions before he kills the teenagers. A TikTok user noticed a very similar one appear in Ms. Kelly's home office. In the scene in episode 3 where Max is speaking in her house, the clock can be heard chiming loudly. And what's more, if you look closely, you can see a clock on Ms. Kelly's necklace in the middle of the key pendant. These clues left some wondering if Vecna and Ms. Kelly may be working together, or if she's being mind-controlled into doing the Mind Flayer's bidding like Billy was in the previous season. Next, responding to Stephen King. Stephen King has a bone to pick when it comes to Season 4 of Stranger Things, but the series writers were quick to respond. King asked his Twitter followers last Wednesday if Stranger Things Season 4 Volume 1 was the whole of the fourth season, and called the decision to split it into two parts lame. However, King wasn't entirely disparaging and actually praised the new season along with his complaint. The new season of Stranger Things is really cool, as good or better than the previous three, the director tweeted. In response, the Stranger Things Writers Room Twitter account hit back, "Sorry, Uncle Stevie, 8 and 9 aren't done yet, but we're working as fast as we can. Glad you're enjoying it and that you picked up on our super subtle Carrie riff." The Carrie nod refers to 11 being covered in a chocolate milkshake at the roller skating rink, a reference to the famous pig's blood scene in the movie Carrie, which is based on one of King's books. However, there will only be 2 episodes in the second half of the season. The 2 episodes are set to be feature-length, with the penultimate episode standing at 85 minutes and the finale clocking in at a pretty staggering 2.5 hours long. And now, a grave mistake. We didn't see it coming, but we'll be damned. After they'd had just a single scene together, we'd started shipping Stranger Things Eddie the Freak and Chrissy the cheerleader as an adorable couple to be. So when she was brutally murdered by Vecna at the end of Chapter 1, The Hellfire Club, we were devastated. The Queen of Hawkins High's fate was sealed by the time the EP saw the sparks that flew when Joseph Quinn and Grace Van Dien acted opposite one another. We were as charmed by their interplay as Chrissy wound up being by Eddie. So it broke our hearts when she was so viciously pretzeled before his eyes. It's pretty impressive what Grace was able to do with very few scenes, says Matt, to get people to care as she did. Though this was the end of that character, it's not necessarily the end of the Duffers' collaboration with Van Dien. Matt adds, "We'll find something else to do with Grace." Let's discuss conflict of interest. Will Byers' character is hurting a key part of Robin's story in Stranger Things. Robin Buckley is still a fairly new character in the Stranger Things cast, only being introduced in Season 3 as Steve's co-worker at Scoops Ahoy. Yet she still had a huge impact on the show and has become a key asset, partly due to her wonderful story. How Will has been handled in Stranger Things, though, overshadows the work done with Robin. Robin came out to Steve in Season 3 of Stranger Things in one of the show's most touching moments, and Steve, a previous high school popular jock, accepted her and has been a strong ally ever since. Robin's perfect story, though, is hurt by the fact that Will's sexuality remains an ambiguous ploy. Will's LGBTQ sexuality has been hinted at even from episode 1 of Stranger Things, as Joyce tells Hopper that Will's dad has taunted him his entire childhood for acting queer. In an argument where Will feels abandoned by Mike, who has been increasingly absent with his new girlfriend 11, Mike says to him, "It's not my fault you don't like girls." Finally, in Season 4, Will's school project is based on historical gay legend Alan Turing, and he has been working on a mysterious painting for Mike. With how well written and well received Robin's story has been, it's odd that Stranger Things hasn't yet made Will's sexuality clear. That being said, Will has always been a shy, reserved, and awkward boy, more so than any of his friends. Therefore, he might take his time in coming out, despite the high likelihood that all of his friends and family would accept him. Hopefully, this is the case, and Stranger Things will soon make it evident that it understands the importance of clear representation. And finally, a glimpse at what's to come. A new image from Empire magazine gives a first look at 11 in Stranger Things Season 4, Part 2. The image sees the character in a desert setting with a nosebleed, indicating that she's just used her telekinetic powers. A large focus of Season 4 of Stranger Things has been Eleven's reunion with Dr. Brenner and her quest to regain her powers. Part of this process involves Eleven combing through past memories of her time in the Hawkins laboratory in order to reconnect with the part of herself that has access to her powers. The new image suggests that Eleven will be back to her old self in Part 2 of Season 4, and that she will once more have access to the powers that will allow her to stand a fighting chance against Vecna. It remains to be seen what is in store for Eleven, Mike, and the rest of the gang in Part 2 of Stranger Things Season 4, but it would appear that she might finally be able to join the ongoing fight against Vecna with her powers fully restored when the final episodes release on July 1st. That's a wrap for this video. What are you looking forward to seeing in the next volume? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.